It's 7 o'clock and I want to rock. Hey, before we get started, the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily those of the SCV, its GEC, nor any division, brigades, camps, or other subsidiaries, strictly those of us that are expressing them. We're expressing them.
Hello.
Hi, Bog. Hi, David. Or Dave, sorry.
Hello, Tommy.
Hi,
Hello,
Rich.
past
Hi,
commander.
Al. Hi, Sean. Hi, Tommy. Hi, Chuck.
You sound like a child that's got on the bus before school. Hi. Hi.
I really Faversham, Carl. There we go. I really feel like getting a mirror and saying, and I see Chuck, and I see Cindy, and I see Laura, and I see Bobby, and I see Garrett, and I see Shade. Yeah, that's a little blast from the past from before my time. Hey, Jude. There's David Pope. Wonder when he was going to get in here. It's Monday. It is 7 o'clock here, Confederate Standard Time. I'm locked in a dungeon somewhere. Can't say where. Moose is hiding with the Christmas decorations as usual. Hope y'all are having a great evening. Conroe is concerning me. He barely touched his butter at supper tonight. Well, Carl,
You
I
didn't
haven't
touch your
had
supper.
supper. I'm not allowed to eat before the show because I'm way too tame when I do.
This is true. Did
And
Moose like
Gerald
this?
and Jude and Miss Linda. Hope everybody's having a great night. Walter D. Donnie Kennedy. Can somebody put me in touch with the Indianapolis camp?
I got you. I'm sorry, David. I
Dave,
sent you an
Dave, he's got
email.
you.
I don't
Donald,
know.
how are you doing? Jimmy Hill, hope you are having a great evening. Haven't talked to you in about 15 minutes, but Ray, seeing you all the way from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Hope you are having a great evening. I'm having a great week. Moose, are you having a great week?
I'm having a great week. I get to speak to a camp tomorrow.
You gonna get your hair cut?
You gonna shave again?
I'm making a political statement.
What political statement are you making?
That until the issue of states' rights is resolved, I shall not shave my beard.
And I will not cut my hair.
That, weirdly enough, that is the no, I'm not pulling it right. That's part of the quote. The story, at least the way Trace Atkins told it in a video, was that in 1864 and 65, there were a group of veterans that decided not to cut their hair or shave until the matter of states' rights was fully resolved, and that's why in a lot of pictures the veterans do not have, or they do have long hair. And according to Trace, that's the reason why he grew a ponytail.
I will not grow a ponytail.
Hello, Charles. It's now. I'll tell you what's weird. So Charles here has a name similar to another Charles, um, and that Charles is a cousin, and that other Charles, Lorray, is a cousin, but it's from two different sides of my family. Weird, isn't it?
You're always weird. You always find a way.
So Charles Ray, who is ATM councilman and who's been ATM commander and chief of staff and a bunch of other positions, really good friend. He and I are cousins through my mother's people. And Chuck, he is cousins on my daddy's side of the family through my daddy's daddy people. No, Victor. No, Victor. Not next CIC.
Next CIC.
Nope. Not happening. Not that. Frank, good evening. Horace, glad you're in from Utah. David, yes, you are right. We are going to be talking about the charge in a little bit, but more than just that one portion of the charge. We're going to dive in a little bit of some of the extra stuff that General Lee talked about on that fateful April day in 1906. Jude, yes, that is right. No states' rights, no shaving. Edmund, yeah. David Pope did not know that today was the 160th anniversary of the White Sulphur Springs meeting of the Southern Historical Society, one of the most important days in the history of Confederate historiographies. Did not know that. Dr. Sandy Mitchum, it's glad to see you here via the YouTubes. The legend, Paul Gramling Jr., nice to see you in the chat. So yeah, that's all interesting stuff.
Commander.
Didn't bring my Jason finger puppet.
Me either. I'm disappointed, but it's good to see my father in the chat. Good to see you, Jason.
He's not your daddy.
We really need to film back behind the scenes.
GCB has too much sense for that, at least for the time being. Yes. Actually, fun thing you mentioned about Moose being a distant cousin of somebody. Moose is related to Thomas Franklin.
No, I'm not. Don't start that lie.
Charles, you are right. It is an all-around family reunion this evening. Hope everybody has had a good hot weekend. For our friends at the ATM who had their workshop, hope y'all had a good time. Just very, very good stuff happening all the way around the Confederation. Sean, I'm not running for CIC. No, running for something else, but not CIC. For really quickly, for those that are interested, we're still doing the moose hunt. Message the page, get your name in. We really want to hit that $1,500. $1,500 mark for that. Couple of things that are coming from SCV chat. Y'all are going, so for many of y'all, I'm sure, watched the Monuments Across Dixie page and saw some of the stuff that Facebook selected them for a promotional thing. SCV chat, we were selected around the same time, but we haven't started our campaign yet. Reason why is the way that works is the more comments, likes, shares, pokes, stars, whatever we get on there, the more potential income we can make for this promotion. We can make up to $30,000 according to Facebook, which we will happily take those Yankees money. But there have been, since the creation of YouTube, people who don't really see eye to eye with the truth, that they keep pushing their false narrative, not our true narrative that we are reclaiming 1 week at a time here. And we have been looking through videos and stuff like that, figuring out who we want to pick apart lies on. Their lies and correct their false histories and stuff like that. So y'all are going to see a lot of stuff coming out from chat as far as videos and short segment videos and posts and things of that nature.
We're got a couple interesting ones already lined up. Videos, that is.
Yeah.
We'll be posting a lot when we start this campaign, probably every day to twice a day, and we'll need your help.
Yep. So yeah. What else we got going on, Moose? Oh yeah. Part of that is part of a push that we've been wanting to do anyway, with some short videos about dispelling the some common myths that we've got going on. We're hoping to go to a couple of locations and shoot some videos and things of that nature. So a lot of great, interesting stuff coming out, along with the official announcement of the launch of the Patreon date. We will be launching it on September 1st.
We are?
Yes.
I'm joking. Yep. It's going to be a good day.
September is going to be a great month for chat.
It's going to be a very good month. We'll have a lot of great content for you. And again, we might even have a couple of special episodes planned.
Like a Constitution episode that we do every single year.
Yes.
Woo! Fruit punch is good.
And maybe we'll start doing something that y'all have been requesting for us to do for a while. It will be an irregular. It'll be irregular. We talked about it before the show.
Did we?
Yeah, it's the thing that Carl and I talked about, but you came up with the idea on your own without talking to me and Carl.
We just got done talking about that.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that people have been asking for something like that for a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's pretty much what a lot of this upcoming portion of the season is going to be.
Yeah. We're going to give you the stuff you've been asking for.
Listen, and y'all will be able to see this once the Patreon is launched. A lot of stuff that we did was just, we were putting in our notes from this episode in our banners thing, and then I was playing Elton John, and Moose was looking at me like I was weird, and then I played John Denver, and he looked like I was weirder. But he does have Country Road stuck in his head, so that's nice.
Oh.
I thought I got you. Yes, Jude, you're right. Liking, commenting, and sharing is the minimum that you can do to honor your ancestor and help us grow the page. Victor, glad to see that next year's commemorative Tumblr theme has already been decided. David, that is a really long comment. I'm going to let Moose read it. Next year's kind of a commemorative national reunion Tumblr for 2024 theme has been decided. Stay tuned for announcement. You've done okay. We've read that. So yeah. Hey, Moose.
Yes.
Guess what it's time for?
What's it time for?
It's time for our trivia question.
Ooh.
Got your timer ready?
I got my timer ready.
You froze on me there, Moosey.
Timer's ready.
Ready?
Si, senor.
Audience, are you ready? All right, tonight's trivia question is, Iceland is in the North Atlantic. Its capital city is Reykjavik. Who was the youngest Confederate lieutenant general? Lieutenant general, youngest one.
One second. Keep on. First off, thank you, Commander. Hopefully we have a good future. Tommy asks, what is the process of preserving heritage?
Tommy, go back and rewatch last Monday's episode and the Commander's comments.
Yes, that is going to be the biggest update you can get. I think David asked, I have it starred somewhere, David, your last comment.
A bunch of wrong answers in the chat tonight, guys.
I'll post it, David, but your whole comment's not appearing on my screen. I have it starred. We'll bring it up, of course, after the trivia question. Ooh. Have a lot of interesting questions in the chat, or answers in the chat, I should say.
I see one where the young man only made it to being a major. Victor, I'm not going to say whether you got it right or wrong.
At least Ohio being very honest with us.
Hey,
I'll take it. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen someone be like, you know what, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know. Hey, well, at least we're teaching you something tonight.
Yeah.
We're about to teach a lot of people stuff.
People going to be learning.
People going to be learning. That's Joe Washington.
That's an inside joke.
We got about a minute left, people. A minute left.
Oh, and Moose, I did my math wrong on that. I was a year too much.
Oh, man. Which is still pretty cool. All right. Ohio, that is a very true statement. And there's my aide de camp.
Good job, Jack. Hey, Carl. Jack, first of all, that autocorrect will get you every time. It gets me every time.
Yeah.
Listen, to say that the Yankee president had the mentality of a 12-year-old really insults the 12-year-old members that we have in our organization.
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know so everybody can look at the comment. Since he made the picture of the moose hunt, I'm gonna throw some.
Oh no, don't be putting them under the bus that much.
No, I'm not that mean. I'm expecting
I was about to say, do we
it.
need to check the Abbeville Institute?
You've told that story a lot when I was your aide. I mean, a lot.
You told it more than I did.
Well, that's because it's become now a part of SCV chat lore.
It has. Let's look at that somewhere. What time? How much time we got left, Moose?
1 second.
No, literally.
Yeah, they had 1 second.
So it's time.
Oh yeah, it's time.
Well, the first person who got it right in our chat was the man who should know because he wrote a book on the Confederate generals, Dr. Sandy Mitchum, Stephen D. Lee. He was 30 in 1864 when he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant general.
Hoorah! You know who else is 30?
Me.
Yeah, you.
Thanks. Thank you there, Moose. Making me
welcome.
Thanks.
John came in last minute with one, and I think the Kentucky division commander also said it. Where are you at? There you are.
Charles, yeah.
Yeah, he did have a question mark beside it, but I'll count that. And I don't think anybody else got it. Jude, I always forget you're old, man.
Thanks. Hey, Jude in Charleston, I'll give you 2 free shots at him.
Huh?
Hey, that is a good point, David. Lee was the only general officer to command infantry, artillery, and cavalry as a general. That is a very good point. And in fact, I don't know if y'all could tell or not, but we kind of have a theme for tonight. You wanna take a Pop-Tart break first? Or we just want to run right into it.
We can go ahead and take a Pop-Tart break first. David, I want to apologize. I can't put your comment up. I think it's reached the cap lock. I'm sorry. But I will try to have it starred so I can come back and we can post it on the page later. Because it is a very good comment. I read a bit of it before it cut me off. I thought putting it on the screen would help us out. But okay, David coming in clutch and giving us the
abridged
version. There is only one thing which is very certain. We cannot escape the ordeal of history. Did I say it right? We're good?
Yeah, you're good so far.
You gave me a look like I just butchered it. Before its bar, we must appear either as criminal rebels or traitors, seeking to throw off the authority of a legitimate government to which we were bound by the ties of allegiance, or as patriots defending our rights and vindicating the true principles of the government founded by our fathers. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, you. I don't like it when you stare at me like that. You make it.
Well, I'm on another page reading really quickly.
Ah, okay. You were like staring into my soul.
You don't take the break.
Yes,
We'll have to throw something at you.
yes. Let's get to the break, but before we do, let's remember
Who's it
tonight.
sponsored by?
It is sponsored by the Kennedy Twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis: High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government. Jefferson Davis: High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government is about how Jefferson Davis was a leader of the high road to emancipation. He looked for a day in which slaves would be prepared to live and participate in society. He did more, though, than advocate for this high road to emancipation. He practiced his belief in the ultimate emancipation of Southern slaves. And many of his former slaves left for prosperity and their testimony about their former master, who prepared them to be self-sustaining members of society. You can get Jefferson Davis: High Road to Emancipation Constitutional Government at www.kennytwins.com in most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org. Whew. We want to thank the Kennedy Twins for sponsoring tonight's Pop-Tart break, and without further ado, let's get in to tonight's Pop-Tart break.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost. Stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Here's the thing. We've heard that so many times, we're able to mouth it.
Yeah, we are, and it's getting scary. David wanted to let everybody know, because, again, some of it was cut off, that this is the quote I read was from Jubal Early.
Jubal.
Jubal.
Jubal, Jubal, Jubal.
Eddie, I'm going to miss you. I hate that you're not going to be able to come to the camp meeting tomorrow, but I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I don't blame you either. All right.
Is it just because I'm going to come speak at your camp at some point.
Okay. Anyway, so tonight we're talking about the charge and a little bit about the man who gave us the charge. We're not going to go into a full biography of General S.D. Lee, but what we will say is that he was born September 22nd, 1833. He passed from this mortal world on May 28, 1908. He served briefly in the Federal Army, well, United States Army at that time. He was born in South Carolina. He very possibly volunteered for service in the United States Army during the Mexican War, possibly. He did enter the United States Military Academy in 1850, graduated 4 years later in the middle of his class. He was commissioned a second lieutenant in the infantry, 4th Infantry to be exact. He was stationed in Florida during the Seminole War, where he served as a quartermaster for his regiment. he was assigned to the western frontier of Kansas shortly afterwards, right before the war. He resigned his commission after making it to the Dakota Territory and joined the Confederate Army. And after he resigned in 1861, he served as a captain in the South Carolina militia. On March 6th, he was assigned as the Assistant Adjutant General and Assistant Inspector General of the forces around Charleston. He soon became an aide-de-camp for PTG Beauregard. He delivered the ultimatum from Beauregard to Anderson, demanding the evacuation of Fort Sumter. Of course, they didn't. Then we shot up the fort. Then they left, and then it was on like Donkey Kong. He did serve first in, as a member of Beauregard's staff, as we've mentioned. He later gets transferred to commanding a light battery in Hampton's Legion, serves in the A&V through the Peninsula Campaign, is eventually transferred to the Army of Mississippi at the time, when he was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. Briefly led an infantry division during the Battle of Chickasaw Bayou. Kicked Tecumseh Sherman his butt all over. Vicksburg campaign, surrenders at Vicksburg, prisoner of war, gets paroled, gets sent east, gets under the command of Bedford Forrest, fights at Bryce's Crossroad, Battle of Harrisburg. June 23rd, 1864, as we mentioned earlier, he was promoted to lieutenant general, the youngest at the grade in the Confederate Army. Atlanta campaign, Franklin campaign. Weirdly enough, his chief of artillery is buried at, I think it's St. John's Episcopal, where Claiborne was originally buried at. Carolina, surrendered with Joe Johnston. After the war, joins the Mississippi Senate, becomes president of Agriculture Mechanical College of Mississippi, which is now Mississippi State University. Go Dogs. He was a delegate to the Constitutional Convention of 1890, where we're still operating under, and became an active member in the UCV and became commander-in-chief in 1904 to the UCV. He was also president of the Mississippi Historical Society, a trustee for the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, wrote an article for the first volume of Battles and Leaders of the Civil War, and published Sherman's Meridian Expedition and Sooy Smith's raid to West Point in 1880. He was instrumental in creating the national park at Vicksburg. Died in 1908 in Vicksburg, weirdly enough. Buried in Friendship Cemetery in Columbus. So, yeah. That's a little bit about Stephen D. Lee. But we're going to talk about his charge. I'm sorry. The article I had, my notes I had were not correct. Sandy Mitchum has corrected me. He was not at Bryce's Crossroads. Jack probably did. Yeah, it does. So anyway, we're going to talk about the charge. The thing that makes our organization took our organizations from being a descendants organization to a veterans rights organization, at least the way I phrase it. It's what makes us who we are and makes us what we are, and things of that nature. You can find a full copy several places online of the full text of the speech that the charge was in. There are a lot of people who are first coming into the SCV, and they hear to you sons of Confederate veterans will commit the vindication of the cause for which we fought, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they think that's the whole speech. They don't realize that it was a multifaceted speech with different sections in there. Just looking at it right here at the end, there's a section for obviously us, the sons. There's a section dedicated or charged to the brave people of the South, to the daughters, to the mothers, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot more to it than just those 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of text I'm looking at right here. But those 4 lines of text are so important to us. Yeah, Jack, kind of like the Star Spangled Banner. Heck, even Dixie has more than just the oh, I wish I was, that we all know of. Just like how people don't realize that there are 5 verses of Amazing Grace, and if you've never stood in a Baptist church and that's the last hymn you sing before the preacher gets up to preach, and he has you sing all 5 verses of Amazing Grace, get on your feet for a minute. Been there, done that.
Did you just call out
like
our Baptist church?
No. I'm just saying, and you're right, Commander-in-Chief. That section to the people of the Southland is really good. In fact, I believe everybody should read the charge in its entirety, and it should be everybody should read it, because, like I said, just like you pointed out with the people of the Southland, there's something in there for everybody, and it's really rereading it today when we're trying to figure out what we're going to talk about is really a huge it's so poignant on how prophetic General Lee was and Moose is gone, how poignant General Lee was in his speech to the entire South. And Moose is back, and there's a couple of things that I really want to point out from reading it. And if you go in and read it, Moose just shared a link to it. General Lee mentions in his speech that there are 3 things that he's really concerned about. In fact, he mentions it outright, that these are 3 things that I'm concerned about. First thing was to honor their fallen comrades by erecting monuments. He says not only to the generals but to the private soldiers who made them famous, or something along those lines. He says that why should we burden the future generations of the South, again, paraphrasing, y'all can go and read the entire portion, with erected monuments if we won't erect them for our own selves, for our own comrades. Next thing is that he mentions that they, as Confederate soldiers, should not do anything in their last years of life that would besmirch the honor that they received during war, as well as the honor that their fallen comrades had. And the third thing is that they should take care of one another, especially those that, he mentions how the South has gone back to being more prosperous and things of that nature, but there were still, comrades of them who were not in the best of living conditions, and that it was their duty to take care of one another. And really, if you hear about that and you think about it, those are 3 things that we in the modern SCV can look at, can listen to, and can take from those lessons. Those things that he was talking about that applied to the UCV still applies to us today. We need to honor our ancestors, which would have been their fallen comrades. We need to do things that brings honor to the Confederate soldiers' good name, but at the same time, we should not be doing things that dishonors the Confederate serviceman for any reason whatsoever.
Amen.
And we should take care of ourselves. And I'm talking about, be there for your brother. There have been countless times. I'm gonna brag on you here, Moose. Don't get a big head on me. I'm the only one with there's only enough screen size for my head over here. But there have been countless times that I've been, needing something, and I call Moose, to talk it out or anything like that. He's always there to offer advice, even though I half the time don't listen to him. And at least there to be a listening ear for me. And that's one of the simplest things that we can do for each other. So definitely, say again.
I said amen on all these parts, because we are a Southern brotherhood and sisterhood.
No, Walter Kennedy raises a good question. Did General Lee say anything about fighting to protect and promote slavery and treason? No, and in fact, we're about to go through some snippets of what he actually said during his speech. So you can see Lee's exact words. When talking about his comrades, I've always loved this quotation out of the entire speech when he talks about them. And it kind of really sums up the Confederate soldier very well. Theirs was the martyr's devotion without the martyr's hope. Which when you think about it, which I love the way, General Lee was a very well educated man. He chose his words specifically for the charge, and he talks, and heck, graduated from West Point, which is the best education at that time you get, where he was taught that secession was legal, but we'll get to that another time. But he talks about the martyr's devotion, which you think about martyrdom, at least in the Christian thought of martyrdom, dying for a cause, which in the old church history, there are hundreds or thousands of martyrs, people who would die for the cause of Christ, but yet they had the hope of heaven and a just reward. The Confederate soldier was just as devoted, willing to die for their cause, which the cause of liberty, states' rights, independent government. Traditional Western values, as we would say today, but their cause, which was lost. They had the hope of heaven, but not the hope of the success of their cause. General Lee later goes on to say that better defeat than dishonor, better the long, bitter story of Reconstruction than tame surrender of the convictions we received from our fathers. Again, the convictions we received from our fathers, the principles which we cherished as the basis. Continuing on, the basis of liberties, we leave our motives to the judgment of posterity. In the choice we made, we followed the dictates of conscience and the voice of honor. Now, I really want you to pay attention to the top part of this quote, going back to it. The convictions we received from our fathers, the principles which we cherished as the basis. Remember those two words, principles and cherished. They'll come up later on. Some of y'all who have the gift of foreshadowing can see where this later plays on in the speech. But cherished as our liberties, we leave our motives to the judgment of posterity. In the choice we made, we follow the dictates of conscience and the voice of honor. He goes on to say, we sacrificed all that men hold dear for the land of our birth. Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief Kennedy, you're talking about, when they talk about causation, well, there you go. They fought for the land of their birth. They fought for the principles that they cherished, that they received from their fathers, the founding generation, the 1776 generation, the guys who we talked about in the previous half of our season this year. Those. But anyway, we sacrificed all that men hold dear for the land of our birth, and while we have no fear that history will record our deeds with shame, continuing on, we do not regard even the verdict of posterity as the equivalent of a clear conscience, nor ought we have to have been false to our convictions, even to win the eternal praises of mankind. Continuing on, he says, if our children shall praise us, it is well. If our own hearts tell us we have fulfilled our duty, it is better. A lot more stuff in there, but essentially that last portion that we were talking about, General Lee is saying to his men, history is going, or to the men of the SCV, or UCV rather, kind of like what Patrick Claiborne said in 1864. I believe it was 64. That defeat means that the history of this war will be told by Northern school teachers, that our children will be taught, that our veterans are fit for diversion and should be forgot, something of that nature. Lee is saying the same thing. He's saying that, guys, we know this is coming. We understand. I see it. Y'all see it. That our children, our grandchildren are being taught these lies and slanders about us. But we have the ability to hold our heads high, that we have the right to hold our heads high and have a clear conscience because we fought for what we inherited from our fathers, the founding generation. We did everything that we could to preserve the principles of liberty, self-determination, states' rights, local government, everything that we hold dear and what we understood to be the principles of this nation. We fought for it. We defended it. We didn't just cower down and say, no, we're just going to let you walk all over us. We stood up like men and we did our duty. We did the duty to the best of our ability. And you know what? Because we can hold our heads high and because we can leave that to our children that we hold our heads high, it's worth the struggles that we have gone through for the past several decades. I want to go back and look at some comments. Let Moose talk for a second.
Whew. It's hard to follow up when you're reading off of General Lee because, again, it's like he had foresight and he knew what was coming. And I think all of them knew how something would show up when you – I can't remember who says this. GCB might. But one of the greatest – how do I want to say this? One of the greatest things you get when you win a war is the fact that you get to tell it how you want to. And yeah, I was about to say that. GCB kind of read my mind where I was going with this. To the victor reads the spoils. And one of the spoils is they get to write their own history of the event, and they can make us look as bad as they want. And for the longest time, they didn't really try. Sure, there's always going to be someone that tried to make our ancestors look bad, but
no, I'm gonna have to jump in and correct you, Moose. I mean, the vast majority of the North, who I would say, wanted to follow what. And maybe not even the vast majority, but there were several in the North who wanted to follow Lincoln's second inaugural, where he said, with malice towards none, with charity towards all, to him that is born the war, and yada, 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 all that other crap that he said before he forgot to lock the door behind him. There were some that wanted reconciliation. The Arlington Monument is a key point. It was a reconciliation monument. The fact that the federal government encouraged the Yankee states to return captured Confederate flags back to the southern states from which they came was a sense of reconciliation. The fact that Southern sons went off to fight in the Spanish-American War was some reconciliation. And you still had your radicals out there that wanted to see the South completely ground down to dust. Our culture, our unique heritage, what makes us a people even to this day destroyed. Yeah, they were out there. But Lee could see the fact that those people were coming of more prominence and starting to grow more and more and more.
Well, first off, thank you.
You're welcome.
That also helps where I'm going with this. And yeah, they knew what was coming. I hate to say it. Some of them might even have predicted that it was going to be as bad as it is today. And I think that's why they tried to prepare us for it in some way. And also why in the South, it was very important to learn lessons from your father or a peer. I know I'm very blessed to have learned history from my father and his, and
same.
So on. But, it really shows you also just how intelligent the man was, and why I anytime that I'm having struggles in this endless, it feels like sometimes fight for our heritage, I do look at the charge and I'll read the speech that General Lee gave, and it a lot of times, mostly always picks me up because they were fighting the same thing. Maybe not on this scale. Maybe it was on the scale, but either way, they were fighting it too. And I don't know if this fight will ever end truly, but it's our duty to keep fighting it. Like the charge.
Right. And hold on one second, miss. There we go. Wormberg's back in. We really need to get them to sponsor this show. I will cut a commercial for them in a heartbeat if they just give me free stuff. But I want to go back, scroll back to a couple of comments. Y'all keep your comments coming in.
Yes.
We're running, between the banners, which, you don't know what that means, but when the text comes up on the screen, we have to get away from our comment, or I have to get away from the comment section. So I can't read two places at one time. But the lieutenant commander or commander in chief, excuse me, I demoted you. Bad me. made a very interesting point. He said the section to the SCV is all-inclusive in the fact that it tells you to vindicate the cause, to defend the Confederate soldiers' good name, to guard the history, emulate the virtues. It doesn't tell you how, where, and when. The caveat is don't disrespect or soil them in you, and that is true. And I would say also the caveat, the thing, because it is there is no time frame on it. It is a perpetual thing, and we'll get into some perpetuity here in the next little bit. And I'm glad you mentioned the words like vindicate the cause, defend the good name, guard the history, emulate the virtues, so on and so forth. Because we've got another section in there because we hear those words all the time. When I'm standing up there, when we're at a DEC meeting or GEC meeting or a national reunion or a division reunion or even a camp meeting, or we pull out our membership cards because we're trying to call headquarters and get our debit card set up on a monthly withdrawal, and PayPal for some reason isn't doing that, and I'm having to read my number off so they can set up my debit card for a monthly thing to help pay off the museum. Hey, did you know y'all can go on the SCV website or call headquarters and do a monthly donation that will automatically deduct out of your bank account? It's like you won't even notice that it's happening. You won't have to remind yourself on it. Fun fact for you folks. Anyway, there's a little plug for the museum for you there, J-Bo. But we hear these words, we think about these words, we see these words. Again, I'm pulling out my wallet to pull out my national membership card, my life membership card. But yeah, right there, we see them, we look at them. It's printed in our newsletters, it's put on our websites, but how many of us have actually sat down to take the time to look up the definition of and read what General Lee was actually saying to us? So I did that earlier. Let me pull my card back out because I don't want to miss anything. And y'all have seen it in the chat a couple of times posted out there. Yes, David Perkins. You can go on the SCV website, click on the donate button at the top, go through PayPal, and you can set it up for a monthly reoccurring donation. But yeah. Anyway, so starting off with, to you, sons of Confederate veterans, we will commit the vindication of the cause for which we fought. Let's stop right there. Moose, what's the big word in that sentence?
Vindication.
What does vindication mean, Moose? It means a means of exoneration from an accusation. All right? So let's look at the accusations. We've already talked about some of the accusations tonight. Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief or Chief of Heritage Op, I get them mixed up. I think they get themselves mixed up sometimes. But it was asked, did General Lee mention anything about treason or slavery? No. But that's one of the accusations that those people made in 1861. They made it in 1906. They're making it in 2023. It is the oldest lie that has been perpetually told by the Yankees about our ancestors. And it is our duty to vindicate or exonerate or prove wrong, prove that, in fact, no, those accusations are false. It's a verb. It's a very strong verb, vindicate. All right? To your strength will be given the defense of the Confederate soldier's good name. Now, in this portion of it, the word that is important is defense. Moose, what does defense mean?
Oh, well, defense.
Hold on. I'll bring it up. The resistance against attacks. So on the one end, we're supposed to be on the offense, exonerating the Confederate soldiers, the cause for which he fought. We're supposed to be on the offense of that. But then at the same time, when we are being attacked, we have to resist that attack. We have to fight that attack. We have to hold that attack. And let's talk a little bit about the Confederate soldiers' good name really quickly. I've said this in speeches for several years, and I mean it to this day, and there are some people who don't agree with what I say. But when he says the Confederate soldier, General Lee didn't say the Anglo-Confederate soldier or those of European descent. He didn't say the Gentile Confederate soldier. He didn't differentiate between, because the man served in the Army of Northern Virginia, the Army of Tennessee, the Army of Mississippi. He went to the veterans reunions. He knew the fact that in 1861 to 1865, the most diverse fighting force in the world was the Confederate fighting man, the Confederate serviceman. And he didn't differentiate because they all deserve to have their story told. They all deserve to have their good name spread. They all deserve that. They all deserve defense. Defend the Confederate soldier's good name. The guardianship of his history. Now the commander-in-chief, talked about guarding his history. Diving into guardianship a little bit more, though. Guardianship, from the way I'm now reading it, is think about like a legal guardian in a court case. That you've got a child who is not in his majority. You've got a child who is not ready, and this is where the perpetuation goes into a little bit more. You've got somebody who cannot make his or her own power of attorney, if it's a parent, or like I said, an underage minor that you're caring for. It's the position and responsibility of a guardian or a person who is entrusted with the care of a person, property, or both. Moose and I were talking about this earlier. What?
No, nothing. I like this part.
All right. The one thing that our fathers give us, it doesn't matter whether your father has more money than Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk combined, or whether your father didn't leave you 2 pennies to rub them together. The one thing that he gives you is his name. Because his father gave him his name, and his father before him. And all throughout these generations, these men have built on their family legacies, their family names. And when they give it to you, it's not something that you own. It is something that is lent to you for you to continue to build upon so that you give it to the next generation. Our heritage is the same way. The Confederate soldier's history is the same thing. We were talking about past A and B commander Ronnie Roach earlier. I'll never forget, I was sitting in, I believe it was Charleston. May not have been Charleston, but it was a reunion about at least 5 or 6 years ago. And Ronnie was giving his report on the Army of Northern Virginia, and he said, paraphrased a speech that I believe it was Fitzhugh Lee gave at a monument dedication, where he says that our monuments stand tall, but we have the right to stand tall as well because we stand on the shoulders of giants, and that is the truth. Because our Confederate forefathers left us something to stand on, left us something to fight for, left us something to guard and entrust with, and in our care, so that we can pass it down to the next generation. And it perpetuates and continues on going down. And we'll stop right here for a second, see if I got any comments I wanted to address. Keep up the good work. We'll get into calls in a second. Continuing on. And we have been talking about the cause. We've been talking about the cause of individual freedom, the right for self-determination, the right for for us as an independent, unique, sovereign people to exist. And, the defense of our culture and the things that make us, unique, and the fact that, we didn't want to be under an oppressive, authoritarian federal government anymore. So yeah, there's the cause. But new comments. All right. So moving on to the second half of the charge. All right. guardianship of his history, the emulation of his virtue. All right, so first let's look at emulation. The effort or desire to equal or excel others. So when he is saying that we are to emulate our Confederate ancestors, that means that we are to show the same, in this case, emulate his virtues. We're to show the same virtues that he had. Or better yet, we are to excel his virtues, if that's even humanly possible for us. Because again, we stand on the shoulders of those giants. Virtues are the quality or practices of moral excellence or righteousness. Guys, we've talked about on this program, and it's in the museum, and it's well mentioned about the revivals that happened in the Southern armies, the great revivals that happened. We talk about that, but even the morality that Southern Confederate soldiers had there in the war, the code of chivalry that was in the Old South, that made up the unique culture of the Old South. Those are some of the virtues that we are to be equal of, or excel, mannerisms, things of that nature. Finishing up, he talks about the perpetuation. What, Moose?
I didn't say nothing.
Okay.
I'm just letting you take this one. You're doing a great job.
Okay, the perpetuation of those principles, and also the ideals, the perpetual of those principles which he loved, which you also love, which you love also, and those ideals which made him glorious. He's talking about we're to perpetuate the principles and the ideas. Perpetuation is something that I just got done talking about, the act of preserving something from extinction or oblivion. Principles are an accepted professional rule of action or conduct. Ideals are a concept or a conception of something that is perfection. Which made him glorious and which you also cherish. Go back to this quote from earlier. Theirs was the martyr's devotion without the martyr's hope. What does the charge mean to me? Personally, to sum it up, it's what makes the Sons of Confederate Veterans a unique organization. It's what takes us from being just a social genealogical society, fraternal social genealogical society, from being more than just a Civil War roundtable with a Southern twang, to being a veterans' rights organization, to be an organization that it means something. Yeah, I've paid my life national members dues, paid my division life national member dues, paid my camp dues. That's great. Fantastic. But I didn't earn the right to be in this organization. I didn't earn the right to have to be in this organization, to have the life membership, anything like that. I didn't earn it. A man named Nathan W. Slay in 1861 left his home, left his wife, left his children. His 7 brothers left their homes. They went off to fight for a cause that they believed in. Nathan took a bullet at the Battle of Shiloh, lost the use of his eye, was discharged from Confederate service, re-enlisted with his younger brother a year after his discharge, and served faithfully and honorably until 1865 when he surrendered with Bedford Forrest. He paid the price for my entry into this organization. He passed down a legacy and a heritage of honor. And again, both sides of my family, we just have a tradition that we join under the mother side of the family. But both sides of my family, all sides of my family, had somebody there in that war who fought, bled, and paid for my right to be in this organization. And who, in the waning years of his life, one general who did command them got up and said, hey, guys, the history, the honor, the legacy that you have fought for, that you bled for, and you died for, hey, it's under attack now. It's going to be under attack for a while. We're too old to fight these battles. It's up for our sons, for our great-grandsons, our great-great-grandsons. It's time for them to step up. They've got to do the lifting for us now. Literally and metaphorically, if you look at the real history of the SCV. That charge is our mission statement. That charge is our goal. That charge tells us what we are to do. We're to fight for our Confederate soldiers' good name on the offense. When he's under attack, we're to fight for his history. We're to defend his good name. We act like him. We hold true to those ideals that he held true to, and we continue on with his legacy and the things that he pushed forward and fought forward in his life. That's the purpose of the SCV. That's the purpose. That's what the charge means to me. And it's not over till it's over. And I'm so proud to be in this organization, to be part of an organization where these principles are displayed by our membership. Moose, what's it mean to you? And don't copy what I said.
I don't know if I wanted to. I think it means something different to everybody. And I think I've gone on record enough to tell everybody how much I love this organization that at the age of 20 or 19, I decided I was going to dedicate my life to fight for real history and for what my ancestors fought for. For what they sacrificed will never be lost to history, because it's real easy for it to. My family was involved in the Revolutionary War. What happened if we lost that? And would his sacrifices be lost to time? And I think they would be. And that's exactly what had happened here. We fought a second Revolutionary War in this country. And the men of the South stood up and were willing to sacrifice everything. And in our times, every time, there is a time to stand up and fight for what you think is right. And they did that. And that's all I could ever want to do, is to stand up for what I think is right and what my family has done. I'm a fourth generation SCV member. I don't think I could love this organization anymore. But this charge is something completely different. It has kept me going a lot, because this is a tough fight for us. It is. The destruction of our heritage is everywhere, and the attacks on us are unrelenting. But we're not really suffering like they did. No.
Yeah, and I want to interrupt you there. Bring back Stephen D. Lee's even his own words.
Okay.
Yeah, they did suffer. But better defeat than dishonor. Better the long, bitter story of Reconstruction than the tame surrender of the convictions we received from our fathers, the principles which we cherished as the basis of our liberty. We leave our motives to the judgment of posterity. In the choice we made, we followed the dictates of conscience and the voice of honor. And we've been talking about defending the Confederate soldiers' good name. And he says there, we leave our motives to the judgment of posterity. We're in posterity. We are posterity. Posterity means, I'll pull up the definition really quickly. Talk, Moose, while I'm pulling up dictionary.com.
Okay. Well, I guess to try to put it in simple words, because
all future generations of people.
You timed that so perfectly.
Yes, it is.
Could you say it again, just in case someone missed it? You closed out.
I'll do better than that.
All future generations of people.
We are those future generations. They left it to us. I want you to ask yourself, folks, viewer, listener, person watching this on replay, forgot what I was going to ask you, person watching on replay. Oh yeah, if we are all futures of generations of people, we are here, and they left it up for us to judge them. Why should people judge them with only one side of history, with one side of the narrative? Why should we let that happen? How do we fix it? How do we fix it? I'll tell you how it needs to be fixed. On the camp level. Going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here, folks. The University of Michigan just released a study that they did that for the first time since, 30 years almost, specifically growing in numbers over the past 8 years, senior boys, males graduating high school, seniors, are 30% more likely to identify as conservative and identify with Western cultural values than they have in the past 30 years. Our camps need to be out in their communities doing things not only on the attack, not only, you want to talk about emulating the Confederate soldiers' virtue? Think about the makeup of the Confederate, the basic, companies. I'm a member of the Rankin Grays, Camp 2278. We're named after Company A of the 6th Mississippi Infantry, the Rankin Grays. They were made up of men from the community in Brandon, Mississippi. Community involvement. Our Confederate ancestors went off to fight for their community, which is the ultimate service. I can't remember exactly what the Bible verse is off the top of my head, but no greater love hath man than this, and somebody willing to lay his life down for his friend. That's the GCB translation, in case any of y'all are interested. That's translated to Southern out of King James. But we have to be out there in our communities doing stuff. We can't just be a Civil War roundtable with a twang. We can't just eat meat and retreat. We've got to be out. We've got to be doing things in our communities that bring not only light to ourselves, but honor to our ancestors. That's what I'm proud of my camp. This past year, my camp raised several thousands of dollars to send kids with muscular dystrophy to camp. And they love us. That camp loves us. There are camps all throughout the Confederation that are doing great things in their communities. That's great. Continue to do them. But if your camp's not and you want to see change, be the force of change in your camp.
And I guess that answers the question Connor asked me about what the charge means to me. It is a call. It is your duty to honor your family's heritage, your ancestors' history, and to defend it to the best of your ability. To never give up, to always stand up, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how tough it gets. And that's what the charge means to me. It's a call to action to do.
And here, go ahead.
Oh. Dick Nabbin, I know you're gonna blow up my part out of the water. You've been on a roll this whole night.
Go. I'm going on another tirade.
That's fine because I 100% agree with you.
You don't even know what the tirade's about yet.
Well, I agreed with the last one. There's a good chance I'll agree with this one.
Well, for God's sakes, educate your membership.
Amen.
I mean, I'm sorry if I'm a little crass on this, guys, but your camp member should, A, understand how this organization works, which is a completely different thing. But B, we should be the one-stop shop for all things Confederate, Confederate knowledge and things like that. It's great to know, some of the main phrases and being able, but it's better to know, to be able to sit there and say no you're saying this about my ancestor, you're saying this about his cause, you're wrong. You're saying that he fought for X, Y, and Z when in all actuality he fought for this. You're saying that he institution of slavery. He fought for the preservation of the institution of slavery. Well, one, if that's all the South cared about and all that it was motivated about, why did they, propose the original 13th Amendment? And in that, why did several states after the firing of Fort Sumter talk about the illegal, not occupation, but the illegal call of troops by Abraham Lincoln? And furthermore, those states didn't even mention secession or didn't even mention slavery in their secession ordinances. Boom, right there. But your membership has to know that. Your membership needs to, and I'm not saying they have to be the most polished speaker, but they need to be able to sit there and defend what actually is happening. That's why I love the Confederate Museum, because that museum, our museum at our headquarters, tells the story of the South. And if every member would go up there and when they can and go through and learn through what is on the timeline and see what caused the war, to what were the repercussions of the war, we'd be able to defeat everybody. And all of a sudden, when we hit them with our truths, when we hit them with our facts, suddenly we're going to have people coming to this organization.
Can't defend if you have nothing to defend with, and can't go on the offense if you have nothing to go on the offense with. And I've seen so many people, and I used to be the same way. I can't say that I wasn't. That, when someone asks you that hard question, you just sit there. And if you say something, they automatically have a rebuttal for it. Well, you have to as well. And it's up to us to educate. It is up to us to teach. What did they fight for? What was the cause of which they fought? Whew, you're going to get me started on one now.
Go on, brother. Catch the Holy Spirit. Get it.
There's so many things.
Don't start rolling around on the floor speaking in tongues, though. Stop before you get there.
That was only one episode, and it was back in season 1.
Back when we were on Twitch.
So there's no proof of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't agree with GCB's 2 points anymore, because there's so many times I've seen a camp eat meat and retreat, and there's very different forms of that. It can be the literal definition of they come together, they eat, and they leave, or it can be they are stuck in what they were doing 20 years ago.
Shake it up. There are two. Go ahead.
Well, it's good to have a routine, yes. But when there's so many other things we need to be doing in this world, because we haven't done the best job, or not that, but more of we are under attack more than we have been in a long time, and they're hitting us more and more. We need to be doing more and more. And it's up to the camp to stand up and fight. So if you're not doing anything as a camp, I hate to say it, but I don't feel like you're living up to the charge. And I'll say that to you.
Well, let me put it like this.
You'll probably say it much nicer than I just did.
Routineness brings complacency. Complacency, breeds death.
Yeah.
At the point where you become complacent in everything, you don't change it up, you lose interest in your membership, and you stop growing. When you stop growing, you start dying.
Yep. And not just growing, but if you're not growing, if you're not thriving as a camp, who in the world is defending the Confederate veteran, your ancestors in your area? No one.
Let me pause really quickly for the Confederate supporters in Ohio. You said you have no camp in Yankeeville and Rolling Solo, just as a supporter. We do have a Ohio division. We do have camps in Ohio. We have our national headquarters camp that you can become a member of, even if you're away from that camp. We've got the Friends of the SCV, which is our organization for those members who don't have a Confederate ancestor but support what we do. We also have the Confederate Legion, if you're agreeing with what we're saying. So definitely, you have the opportunities to do stuff. But to go back on our education thing really quickly, and I've seen David mention in here, or Dave rather mention in here about contacting your senators and stuff like that. And yes, you definitely need to. But in this current war that we're in, our ancestors they had bullets and bayonets. We don't have bullets and bayonets.
No.
We have our education. That's one. And second, we have dollars. And I know, I'm a government employee. Government
I'm a broke
employees.
college student.
There we go. There's just one for the night. Waiting on it. We don't make much money, but we got a heck of a retirement program. And good insurance. But still, I'm about to start giving $50 a month to the museum, our museum. That's bullet number 2. Bullet number 1 is education. Now, I am not a smart man, but I do know what love is. Probably going to get copyright struck for that. But I still try to do my best to continuously educate myself. That's why I love Carl Jones. I'll call Carl.
Amen. I love Carl.
We will either talk about something, and he will fill my head with we'll either have really crazy ideas about corn dogs and things of that nature, or maybe a mail stick or two, or we'll talk about things that are coming up with he'll fill me on some educational stuff that I'm missing.
And you need to sharpen both of those equally.
Mm.
And you can lean to one way or another, because again, for some that don't know, I'm not going to say it twice. But I am going to be a public school teacher. I don't make a whole lot.
You're not going to make a lot of money. You're going to make less money than I am.
Yeah, and that's saying something. But I might be able to focus more on education. Doesn't mean I need to neglect the money side, because that is the two main weapons we have in this Cold War we have going on for our heritage, is our brains and, again, our dollars. And we have to have both of them equally sharp. Again, you can lean on one more than the other. I'll be leaning on the education battle more myself. But if you have more money than you
gonna read from the Abbeville Institute?
I will, Deck Nabbit. I will. And I'll mispronounce their name from the whole class and act like I didn't.
They won't know any better. They're public school kids.
They're public
Hey,
school.
I'm one of those. But yeah, so guys, the charge is something for us to aspire to.
Amen.
Duty is the most sublime word of the English language. Man cannot do more and should wish to do no less. Paraphrasing Robert E. Lee there, we can go on and on and on about things until cows come home. What?
I said it's a call to action.
It is a call to action. And the question is, what action are you going to take?
Amen.
Are you going to answer the charge? Are you going to answer the call? Are you going to, be complacent? Not to be sacrilegious, but those of the Christian faith, we're also called for a certain. We're also commissioned. We have a great commission.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it there at the right before Jesus goes up into heaven, and then also in Acts chapter 1 verse 8. Where we're to go out there and beat the bushes. And there are times when, we don't feel worthy, or we don't feel, adequate to that call. But you know what? Moses had a stutter.
Stutter. Paul killed Christians, tortured them. He wrote half the New Testament.
Yeah.
There's something everybody can do, because I get it. It probably is a bit harder for me to talk than most people know. I have to reread stuff over and over again. And I get it, but I'm out here speaking sometimes. I give when I can. And again, I'm not trying to boast myself here. I hate doing that. And I know GCB feels the same sometimes, except for when he wins the Robert E. Lee Award.
Hey! I did not make. I think I made one post about it, and I cried more than I did boasting.
You did. But everybody can do something. And it's up to you to find out what that is. And of course, spread the love around, because I know there are many ways you can fulfill the charge. I'm not saying that you don't need to focus on one. I'm going to pick on GCB's camp. They're a mechanized cavalry camp, and I love them to death.
Hey! It's only about 60%.
Well, same with my camp. I can't say much. But they focus on doing the rides. They have that charity work they do, and that's great stuff. They need to be doing that. You need to get involved in your community. But there are also other things you can do. I know of a couple reenacting camps. I know of a couple education camps. I know a couple of cemetery camps. There's multiple ways you can do, but you don't need to focus on just one area. Spread the love around. There can be something that is your main focus, yes.
A camp should have every facet and every walk of life represented in there. You should be able to go in and sit down and, you see a judge, you see a lawyer, you see a banker. And then at the next table or across the table from them breaking bread is, somebody who it's your garbage man.
Yes.
And Jason's right. Liberty and freedom will lose when good people do nothing. But for you guys that are watching, think about your camp. Think about what your camp has done in the past year. Think about what your camp is going to do over this next year, and think: are we just being complacent?
Amen. Everybody,
or are we? Think. All right. I really like analogies and metaphors.
Good.
I like things. Yeah, no doubt. Camp should be. All right. Moose, which way do crabs move? You know this?
Right to left.
Yeah. Which way do catfish move?
I did not expect that one.
Which way do sharks move? Which way do sharks move?
Straightforward.
Be a shark.
Amen.
Here's a little. All right, y'all. We've been a little bit serious. I need to tell a joke really quickly, or at least a funny story. So during the Kenner National Reunion, when was that? A year ago?
Oh yeah, I think so.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. It was Georgia. Well, Little Rock this year, Georgia last year, Hot Springs this year, Georgia last year before Kenner.
It was? Ooh.
We did not get to stay at the host hotel. Me, Moose, and Daddy Moose stayed at the Overflow Hotel.
Oh, I know this is going.
And we Ubered back and forth because if you stayed at the host hotel, parking was atrocious.
Oh, gosh.
We had plenty of parking at the Overflow Hotel. Just saying. So when we're in our Uber, in our suits one morning, the Uber driver asked, and this is before any of us, Forrest hadn't had his Diet Dr. Pepper, I hadn't had my fully loaded Dr. Pepper, Moose hadn't had his coffee.
We were all ill.
Moose's head was still wet from the shower.
Yeah, I was dead.
Yeah, so it was a rough morning to say the least. And it's like opening ceremonies day. So we're riding over in the automobile. And the guy asks us, the driver, he says, hey, what are y'all in town for? And we said, oh, we're in town for an agriculture convention. We're subsoil agriculture specialist. Forrest, he grows beets. I'm his insurance agent. And Forrest, or little Forrest back here, is trying to get into the beet business. We went on for the entire ride, just making up crap, messing with the guy about subterranean agriculture. That evening, we're going back to the hotel to change and then go get something to eat. The different Uber driver asked us, what are y'all in town for? From the very back seat, we hear catfish farming. Forrest and I turned and looked at each other, then turned around and looked at Moose. We ragged him with so many questions about the catfish industry. Poor Moose was just making up answers, trying the best that he could to hang on. So Moose, what do you keep the pH level of your water in? -14? You have your catfish swimming in acid?
It's good for their skin.
Yeah, that was his response. Good for their skin.
I don't know
So if you ever hear us,
though, but it
if
was
you ever
awful.
hear us on the show talking about catfish or beets or Clark, that's what happened. Here you go. A little inside, little bit.
Goes to the museum, Randy. He's talking about that monthly thing.
Okay, so yeah, Randy. I know with PayPal you can actually choose on scv.org under the donate. You can choose the different funds. I know that does through PayPal. I'm not sure with your bank account. Just call headquarters, and I believe it's Miss Cindy is the one that can do that for you. But just call headquarters. Have your number, your ID number ready. Like mine is 3160, and then a couple other numbers. Have that ready so that they can pull up your thing and go from there. Anyway,
What I'm gonna have to ask, what was the point? What was the point of the story?
we talked about catfish, and kind of a way for us to wind. We're talking about fish, but kind of a way for us to wind down. We've been at it for, oh goodness, an hour and a half, and we've definitely got some stuff to do because we're talking about defeating the narratives and educating ourselves. We've got some videos that we need to watch and start making notes on so that we can bring y'all some more SCV chat content. Moose, what you got going on Thursday night with looking around the Confederation?
This Thursday, remember to send in your news to scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com, and we'll feature it on the upcoming episode this week. And we will also have the Army of Trans-Mississippi on to give an update on their army. Last week, we had the Army of Tennessee. Make sure to go share that and check that out if you haven't already. And it will be the same Confederate time, same Confederate channel, 7 p.m., SCV chat.
Well, happy early birthday to you, Jude, for Thursday being your birthday. I'm hoping that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, if for more information on what's going on with the Arlington Monument and the struggles with it, you can check out last week's episode. That's on our YouTube page as well as our Facebook page. Just go look in the archives. We may do a replay. We may not.
Either way, but make sure you also, while I'm thinking about it, make sure you share this episode out. Show it to your camp. I hope we get y'all fired up. That's the goal in this. We're not trying to call anybody out. Everybody's been like this before. We've all had that moment. But I hope us diving into the charge tonight and doing other things, talking about some of our own personal opinions. I hope.
No, you cannot be a self-appointed camp. You can get 6 friends that are of like mind and have Confederate ancestry and form your own.
Yes. But tonight was about really, first off, diving into what the charge did for us. And I think me and Connor both showed our side of it, and Connor did a great job really dissecting the charge and going deeper into it, which I sat back as a viewer and really enjoyed. I want to thank him for that. But, share this out to your camp. Play this at your next camp meeting. Show this to a couple of your division officers. Share this out to regular people.
Email scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com and we'll send you the notes.
Yeah, we will. I'm going to email ourselves and ask for the notes.
You don't get the notes.
I don't get the notes. But our goal is to help you. If we say something that gets you fired up one night, or if we say something that gets you mad, trust me, we're not trying to. We're trying to fire you up. We're trying to educate. We're trying to do all these things. And we're trying to live the charge ourselves.
And like we mentioned earlier, if you're taking that look in the mirror and you're fired up and you're wanting to see some change at your camp level, be the change that you want to be.
Amen.
That's the best way for us to put it. Just be the change that you want to see in your camp. just like how our camps need to be the change that we want to see in our communities. We've got several thousand members in this organization. We're worldwide. Imagine, if we all stood up and became that change for the charge.
Amen. If you really dive
All right, guys, Moose will be back on Thursday. I may join in. Who you got? You got is it Charles that's going to be on, or is it JC?
I think they're still deciding. I'll have to talk to him.
Well, let me know. I may hop on and see how our Across the River brothers are doing. If not, I'll watch that. And after I chew Adam Southern out for sending me TikToks during the middle of the video. Hey, remember also check out we're on TikTok.
We are. We've
got a lot of great stuff to piggyback to where we're going on. We just got a great script yesterday that I haven't had a chance to record yet. That'll be a good little 2-minute long video and stuff like that, maybe 3 minutes. That we're gonna be shooting, and it'll be on TikTok, it'll be on our Facebook, it'll be on YouTube and everything like that. Remember to share, especially this episode. Looking at it right now, we've got about herp derp. Let me find it if I can find it. It's not letting me find it. We've got about 35 shares. So definitely go share. Share with your camp members, share to your camp groups. Let's get this out there. Let's be the change in our community. Let's be the change that we want to see. Let's live the charge. Tune in on Thursday. No smoking in the elevator, or no Fumar in the elevator. TikTok, I think it's just SCV chat.
Yeah, it's just SCV chat. We have two. One, and we got locked out of, which we use the old school SCV_chat name. And then one, we just have regular SCV chat, and we're under the regular, just one word, SCV chat.
What stories could be told?
It's time.
It's time. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. In the words of we're going to sign off now, but in the words of the late and great Harold Philpotts, no Fumar in the elevator.
Fumar in the elevator.
Ready